everyone. This is Patrice with the Positivity Corner, and I am coming back with a few reaction videos. I'm actually gonna do some gospel today. Today is Sunday in the United States, and previously I did a show on the wonderful and my personal favorite gospel artist of all time, James Cleveland. Today, I am going to talk about Walter Hawkins. But before I get to that genius of a gospel artist, in my opinion, I want to do a one-off here. I'm going to do a praise break, y'all. I love them. I'm going to tell you what a praise break is in case you don't know. A praise break is exactly what you think it is. It's in Christianity, primarily in Pentecostal holiness churches. It's a praise. It's a form of praise. That is what it is. A lot of people call it something else. They'll call it shouting. I went to church the other day and let me tell you, I was shouting. You will hear that from people. It is a black gospel church tradition. Some people call it getting happy. I went to church today and I got happy. Everybody knows what that means. It's a form of worship and it's most often seen in black churches. However, there are plenty of people in the United States, white folks, who are Pentecostal in holiness. And guess what? They be shouting too. And having those praise breaks. You could see them doing their thing on YouTube as well. There are thousands and thousands of praise breaks on YouTube in churches all over this world. Now, it originated in Africa. Yeah, primarily West Africa. There is a tradition in West Africa called a ring shout, right? And it has the call and response type of deal. It's got singing. It's got dancing. All of that. That started in West Africa. Now, of course, people primarily from West Africa became slaves, right, in the United States. The southern United States, for the most part, and that comes into play here. When the West Africans became slaves, they were taught Christianity by the masters, right? They incorporated that shout tradition into the Christianity. And that's when you get the shouting, right? Now, in the north of the United States, however, is a little more refined. You could call it bougie. I'm just saying. They weren't into that shouting stuff. I just put it like that. Now, after slavery was over, they were still doing it in the South. And there was, in the early century, the rise of Pentecostalism, right, at the very beginning of the century. The black churches in the South started to incorporate more charismatic practices, things like speaking in tongues, that kind of stuff. And the shout tradition, shouting, it fit into that. It kind of fits with it. Right? So that continued to evolve. Right? Now, a lot of people from the South in the middle of the 20th century, right? They moved up north to get jobs, to get better educations, yada, yada, yada. They bought that tradition of shouting and the praise break up north. But, the black Christians that were already up there and had their more refined services, they weren't, too enamored of that practice. Black people from the South said, forget you. And the black churches that came from the South, praise breaking all day long. And it has become a tradition as well in music. Praise breaks can occur anytime during the service. A lot of times, though, it'll happen in two ways. When the preacher or the pastor or the reverend, he get to going in that sermon. And he'll just say a line. And it can be a line from, the Bible or whatever. And people just start shouting. Or the second time, it can occur a lot at the end of a song. And that's when you hear a lot of it on record. Particularly with black gospel, is when the song is over and people just, they just get happy. Now, the first time I ever heard a praise break, the shouting, the running up and down the aisles, people falling out, I was a kid, and it was actually a funeral. I could have been no more than 10 years old. I was baptized Roman Catholic. Now, if you know anything about Roman Catholicism, I'm just going to say it. It's the driest thing ever. And we don't do shouting, praise breaking, none of that stuff. Plus, it's like going to McDonald's, right? It's like 45 minutes, you're out. I was fascinated, and people would like run up and down and shouting and hollering, and I was just looking around like, ooh, this is interesting. Now, I did say with the James Cleveland reactions that I sang gospel for 4 years. Yes, I most certainly did in the Philadelphia area. And we did concerts in churches in the local area. Black churches, holiness churches, Pentecostal churches. I even sang on the radio with my choir in Washington, D.C. And let me tell you, those churches were lit. I'm just going to say it. It's a spontaneous thing. I just want to say one more thing about it. There's no sheet music involved in a praise break. And when I say it's spontaneous, it's spontaneous. However, if you listen to a lot of praise breaks, which I do personally because I love them, there's a certain melodic thing to it. It's really fast. I mean, really fast music. It can be really fast. And usually black churches, they don't really have a lot of instruments. So you might be talking drums, bass, maybe a guitar, maybe not, organ, piano. That's the basics. I mean, some people get fancy and they got horn sections now. Some things are more elaborate. But that's the basic setup. And it is totally unscripted. Totally unscripted. People just break out. I love praise breaks. I'm going to play this one. This is one of my personal favorites. If I am in a bad mood, this goes on. This is from 2015. It is the Austin Church of God in Christ. COGIC. Many former, current, and future Black gospel singers come from the COGIC. That is a serious Black church. This is the mass choir of the Austin COGIC. The album was a live album called Back to Zion. And this is one of the best praise breaks I've ever heard. At Cole, just enjoy it for what it is. And just a note on this, it probably went on for a long time. They cut it off. Yeah, they cut it off. Praise breaks can go as long as over an hour. I've seen ones on YouTube that are over an hour. And I'm going to talk about that at the end. Just enjoy it.
I need him now. I don't need him tomorrow. But Lord, can I hear you say, Lord, I need you now. I need you now. Do it again. Shake up my family. Do it again. Turn it around. And we owe you yes. Come on, we owe you yes. We owe you yes. Shout yes. Shout yes. Shout yes.
Now what are you going to do with this glory?
Yes.
Ain't you feeling shifting? The glory is here. Who will be first? Who will be first? I say who's going to be first? Because all it takes is one praise. One praise. Praise God. You know, it used to be a time it wouldn't take much to get somebody to just really let go. And I'm not talking about emotionalism,
Tell 'em.
but I'm talking about the reality of praising God. They knew that if they could get one praise out, that it would turn things around. And I just wonder what kind of praise you would give God if you knew that on the other side of that praise was everything you've been waiting for.
Amen.
Everything you've been crying out for. On the other side of that one praise, why don't you reach down in your belly and give God the best scream, the best shout, the best holler you can give him. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, open your mouth. Oh, come on and praise him.
always puts me in a good mood, that song. I can feel lousy. I put that on. Bad mood gone. That is the Austin Church of God in Christ Mass Choir. Ooh, with a praise break. Just wanted to say one thing about the timing. Praise breaks are spontaneous. They're spontaneous events. I've seen praise breaks, 45 seconds. The pastor might say something good and, the organ goes, whatever. I've seen them over an hour on YouTube. They can go on and on and on. And it could be a series of songs. They just keep playing songs, and the choir keeps singing songs, like little snippets, and the congregation just sings along with them, and people start shouting. I mean, it can be like that. If you're interested in hearing praise breaks, there's plenty of them on YouTube. I would recommend James Fortune has some really good ones, as well as one of my all-time favorites, and he will definitely be on this channel. Hezekiah Walker. Ooh, that dude. Anyway, this is the Positivity Channel with Patrice, and I want you to stay strong and positive. I will be back to talk about the one, the only, one of my all-time favorite gospel artists of all time, the genius himself, Walter Hawkins.